This is so good, so eerily good that a lot of the videos I saw Sam Altman post, you could not tell if it was a real video or AI. And honestly, my first response thought was, holy crap, every content agency's in trouble.
All right, welcome back to another episode. This time we've got actually something straight off hot the press. We want to cover that, and then we would love to get into stuff that we talk a lot about here at Right Hook, right? With just going back to breakthrough advertising, using that as the primary framework, and really just honing in on the start of the start, right? Personas, mass desires, starting there, which then unlocks offers, creative angles, and almost every other part downstream. We'll get to that for sure, but this is almost straight off the press. For you watching this, it'll be a minute ago, but this whole Sam Altman thing is kind of wild. And it really takes a leap forward. Ray, you were the one that shared it in Slack. I want to know, when you saw what Sam Altman put out on his Twitter, one, what was it that he put out on Twitter? But then also two, what was your response?
Yeah, so OpenAI came out with their own video AI generation. And honestly, my first response thought was, holy crap, every content agency's in trouble.
Fascinating. So video AI, text to video AI has been around for a while. Remember when it was just it was less than 20 episodes ago, because we haven't done 20 episodes. Mm-hmm. When I came back from the Meta Performance Summit, right, in Melbourne, and I showed you those slides, and it was that small little cute flying dog on their website, on their on their text to video, Meta's text to video page, and it was this cute little, maybe the year 2002 type 3D rendering of a dog with goggles and a cape, and it wasn't even a video; it was just like a still, and then it said text to video coming soon. Of course, they're keeping a lot of things. Their move fast and break shit mantra is long gone since Zuck had to sit in front of Congress. So I think it's like slowly, but they do have Llama 2 in the background. What is it about what you saw that kind of changed the game in your head?
Yeah, because I feel like they did a massive leap forward. Every text to AI video I've seen, you can clearly tell, okay, it's there's some things that, okay, that looks good, but a lot of it, it's very clear that it was made by a computer, and there was very few real applications I saw from it, right? But they were just playing around. This is so good, so eerily good, that a lot of the videos I saw Sam Altman post, you could not tell if it was a real video or AI.
Yeah, I mean, I was midair flying back from Nashville when Sam, because I have Sam Altman's tweets on notification, just because the theory that I have, and I've been telling so many pals about this, especially the ones that own agencies, ever since GPT dropped and became popular, November 2022, I saw almost like the entire remember iRobot, that like Will Smith movie, right?
Great
I just saw
yes.
I just saw the entire it's almost like in a flash. I went, holy crap, we have no idea. We think we know what's coming, but because of the exponentiality of the way that it moves, and I remember crypto, right? It just moved so quickly that most people couldn't wrap their head around it, and just had to join like 2,000 Discord groups to try to figure out what the heck this NFT thing is. And, some people profited, but a lot of people left behind. This is, and even then, the core technology, blockchain, isn't really affecting consumers, and even crypto in general isn't affecting the regular old consumer as much, because there is this on-ramp period. This thing's plug and play, bro. Put in some words, tinker around, And because it's cloud computing, not on your machine, you don't have to wait for like 2 minutes for it to render. And then you can just spit it out, and then don't like it, try another prompt. So I just shared my screen. This is Sora. This is what Sam Altman was talking about. And, usually you go to a company's website, they tend to show you like best of the best only, curated stuff. It's like when you watch like game demos and they show you like a super awesome game demo. And then when you get your hands on the early release of the game, it's like, hello, Cyberpunk. It's just crap, like your character can walk through walls and NPCs walk past you and start like their arm gets fused into your leg or something. This right here, this is kind of nuts. And I was playing with Runway ML almost a year and a half ago, right? Kyber, Runway ML, a few of the other existing text to video tools out there. I mean, this close up, it looks off. You can tell that it looks off, right? If you start scrutinizing, just the skin tone is not really all there. And you can see that is it real? Is it computer generated? But just looking at the fabric and how it's reflecting light, it's getting all the lighting right. The reflections here, like of the light.
Yeah, and the water too. Yeah, look at that.
Exactly. The water reflecting the light. You can see a few funny things, like this person in the back's kind of like floating, and their legs are somehow like a second leg pops out of the first leg. But it's really kind of nutty, and because the training model, the amount of data in the training model is absolutely insanity. Just like the amount of training data that goes into GPT for textual stuff. But it is nuts. I mean, this looks like a game.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, look at that. The car driving.
This reminds me of like GTA 5, right?
So there's two videos that blew my mind. One was, maybe it's on here, but it's definitely on his feed, of a woolly mammoth walking in the snow. And the second one was with 2 golden retrievers on a mountainside on a podcast.
Oh, yeah. So those are on his Twitter. But dude, look at this one.
That's nuts.
This is nuts. Sure, it's not, for I guess for our use case, we're going to need it more for clothing, humans, maybe close-ups, right? Product hero shots and stuff like that.
But as B-roll, this is incredible.
Oh yeah, for sure. All those expert positioning videos where someone's talking about something and then it's swapped in like, do you have headaches in your business? And some business guy with a headache thing. Now it's just, you're able to generate like
look
that.
At the cat one.
Yeah, let's go back. Yeah. And look at the physics too. The cat's touching her face, and it's following it's not like, those games where you got to tweak the physics a little bit. Someone's get like a character gets shot by a bullet and then they just ragdoll and the physics are all over the shop. The cat's paw isn't passing through her nose. The skin on her nose is pushing back. It's kind of nutty. Where's the one like, and here's the thing, right? What's really cool about this, and keep in mind, I used to be a filmmaker. Nat used to be a filmmaker. This right here is an expensive shot. If we want to keep this clean.
If it was real life, you mean?
Yeah. Like it's an expensive shot by way of just, how would you be able to do this? You probably will need a drone. You'll need a permit. You'll need this exact weather on the day of filming, right? And you need it to not be like a super crowded street. So if you really needed the shot, you would have to have someone block off this side here, block off the other end over there, and that's the only way to be able to like pull that thing off.
And can I just park here for a second? Can we just like have some hindsight? Literally a year ago, text to video came out. OpenAI didn't come out till November. It was November 2022 was when it came out. A year ago, they had their first text to video. Not them, but like as on the market.
Like the internet.
Yeah. In 1 year, we've gone from, this is kind of cool computer generation to realistic in a year. And it's exponentially increasing.
And bro, this is exactly why. How cool is this, by the way? Man, I can't wait to play. This is exactly why there is something to be said around this. Sorry, let me rephrase. So remember I told you 2022 GPT came out, and then a whole bunch of like, this is how, because this is innovation at a whole other, like a very interesting kind of level, right? And because I used to work in tech also, it usually goes like this. You've got one big player that comes out and drops a thing and a product market facing. And especially in tech, if it's a base layer, then a lot of people will start like, ooh, cool Chrome extensions, or ooh, like ClickUp has AI, Notion has AI, and it's all tech that is based off of OpenAI, ChatGPT. So they start licensing the software to be able to start using it in their way. Amazon Web Services, same kind of deal. The crazy thing, though, is I know, and this is how it's worked in the past as well, it'll go like not a whole bunch happening seemingly in the market. And a lot of people will just start to build up competency with the existing tool set. And then something will drop and it just changes the game completely. And then it goes back to normal again, and people start like, oh, maybe, I don't know, your kind of typical 3D rendering tool like Blender might now be plugged into, say, Sora or like an OpenAI thing. So you have the base thing, you hit one button and it kind of generates in the background based off of prompt, the background, the foreground, the character might be holding something. Between those two stages, fortunately, Finn is an engineering major in university and a mega nerd. So our dinner table conversations are kind of funky, like an entrepreneur in ads, an engineering nerd, and a photographer, videographer, cinematographer. And so most of our dinners would involve Finn going, hey, I saw this one cool thing about AI. Someone wrote like an entire comedy skit based off of Jerry Seinfeld's every single Seinfeld episode. So,
wow, no way.
Boom. Yeah, this was a year ago, by the way. Wow. This was a year ago. So boom, it came out, right? And it was really highly produced. There was like canned laughter as well, if I remember correctly. So it felt like that good old 90s sitcom. And the person didn't write a single line in that little short. And then another dinner, he'll show me this one studio. Because what happened was when AI text to image came out, this great divide occurred between people who went, we are creatives. This violates what we do as creatives. And then you had the early adopters that went, wow, this could change the game. I lived through that in around 2000 and I want to say 2010, maybe 2012, when there was a massive shift in the movie industry and flowing through to the TV commercial industry between 35 millimeter analog film and digital. And there were Kodak at that time were giving out free DVDs. This is how old this is. DVDs. It was really, really well shot. And the entire premise of the DVD is film will never die. Right? And it had all the big players. The guys that shot I'm pretty sure Wally Pfister was on there maybe. Wally Pfister was the guy that shot for Chris Nolan all the time. And some really big name cinematographers would be sat down on like a Hollywood interview style setup and would go, nothing will ever replace the magic that 35 millimeter film brings to the table. It just has so much latitude, this, that, and the other. 2 years later, all of them were shooting on mainly digital. You got Chris Nolan still maybe shooting on like 70 mil, but almost the entire industry came that way. Because prior to that, it was the Canon 5D. So you only had to compare between the Canon 5D or like cinematic film, right? And everyone held on a cinematic film. Now you would struggle to get a project off the line unless you're a big name director if you wanted to shoot on film because it's so expensive and it looks almost like for like. So the point being, in that middle, you had all these early adopters, and I remember watching this one YouTube video of of the studio, and the title was "We made our own anime, action anime using AI." But for them to be able to do that and innovate, for them to be able to do that and innovate, what they had to do was take themselves on like a green piece of cloth, so a green screen, but like a homemade one, a DIY one, and still had to film frames of themselves, and then still had to text and generate the layer on top of that. So use that as the training data, do that, and then rotoscope almost like frame by frame, because it was text to image, frame by frame, because they were thinking, oh, I'm going to go innovate. Right. But even with all that, it's almost like if you take what they learned or what experience they pulled out of producing that and then plugging in this current technology, I wonder how many transferable skills really can go from there to here. You see what I'm saying? Like, they spent all that time. You could have said, "Oh, they're ahead. Oh my God, they're innovating." But bro, now like a 10-year-old can play with this tool and create as close to, if not better. So was their innovation worth it for that specific thing? Maybe not. Maybe it's the spirit of experimentation that is the thing that will keep them moving forward. But point being, when there are tools like this that come out, it almost disregards or really starts to diminish the value of that brute force experimentation at the start, because the next one's just around the corner. And when it drops big, right? It's like, I don't know. I was telling someone at the conference that we were at, I just feel like the AI industry is kind of like Drake right now. They're just dropping like a track every week, every other week, and then one will just go
hard
like
to keep up.
Exactly. It's super hard to keep up.
Not only that, but by the time you do catch up, it's immediately going to be a next update, and then you have to start the whole process all over again.
Exactly. So that's why it's this like, just play around, tinker a little bit, see what you can spit out. Over Christmas last year, usually Q4, the whole team's busy. I get to like go off in the background a little bit, because if I come into the teams, I'll just start like tinkering and getting in the way, because I just want to help. So I took a back seat and I played around with Stable Diffusion, which is like a nerdier version of Midjourney, I guess. And the reason why I wanted to play with Stable Diffusion is because you get to upload your own training data to a point, right? And there are these things called LoRa's that you can build. And there's also this thing called textual inversion. What I was trying to do and play around with, and I got pretty close, is be able to generate an image. And because of the training data that I fed it in a certain small little extra outside box, I guess, I wanted to be able to, without Photoshop, generate human models, male, female, old, young, but be able to hold and interact with product. I got pretty close, right? I still, like, fingers were still kind of mashed up and all that. And because it wasn't cloud computing, I was just testing on my own machine, and I'm on an M1 MacBook. It takes maybe like 40 something seconds to a minute and a half to be able to render, depending on the type. But the point being, now it's just text coming in and it generates an image. If there's a secondary component outside of that where you can feed it, say, a data set of 400 of your single product, 400 images, right? So from product image, white background, different angles, top, side, bottom, etc., through to like different humans interacting with it. You can then, if there's a Stable Diffusion like to video type, which there already is kind of, imagine them being able to generate a human in any pose against any background interacting with your product.
Well, so to that, have you seen this? There's a brand we work with where we actually use AI, and they use it for their website, where the models are, now they're prettier probably than the average human, but they're using those AI models for all their product shots on their website, because you can take the dress style and it'll put it on an AI model. Now it's a static, they're fixed, but it's so realistic that I actually sent it to a marketer friend. I was like, this is a real person. This one's not. Which one can you tell the difference? And he couldn't tell the difference. He just saw a theme where the AI models look a little too perfect, but still pretty close where a human couldn't tell a difference.
Right. And let me ask you this. When you sent it to him, was it, do you know if he looked at it on his phone or on like a desktop?
It was on his phone.
Because usually if we're looking on our phone, we're hardly like scrutinizing. I don't remember the last time I looked at, right. I looked at a social post and really started to tear apart every pixel and try to pinch in and like zoom in and be like, oh, that's kind of weird. That and pinky toe is out of order.
Most traffic's on mobile. So it's you'll probably never notice it.
Right. Absolutely. But look at how, I mean, again, same thing. Look at the physics on this guy. Right. It's a bit weird that the hips don't shift right, but his arms are actually running. Like they're moving in the way it would move if someone's running.
Yeah. But again, if this is like an ad, you would not scrutinize it that bad. We're scrutinizing because we're watching, because we're analyzing that's AI. But a lot of the stuff, it's a scene. It's a 3-second scene, a 4-second scene on an ad or in a video. You're not going to be able to tell us the difference.
Like, look at this one. This looks like if this flashed on TV as like, I don't know, some kind of pharmaceutical ad or something, right? And it's like on the corner of my eye, I'd be okay with that. Now her waving is weird. Like if you look at this lady's hand over here, but it ain't. It's solid, man. And this one here on Sam Altman's Twitter. Look at that little Italian grandma.
I know.
So I'm very excited by what this brings to the table in so many different ways. But you're right. I agree with you. I think anyone that has questions on my mind after Sam Altman dropped that. And it was always a question on my mind because I knew that it was coming. I just didn't know when. And most of my pals would be like, dude, stop being paranoid. It's going to be like, we at least have 3 to 5 years. And I agree with them. I smile and I nod because, I just want to continue eating dinner. I don't want to get into like a full blown argument when we're having dinner or lunch and stuff. But in my mind, I go, well, that's just what we say to ourselves so that we can get back to business as usual and not like show up at work and like shit our pants every day and just live a normal life. Right. Like I knew in the background, I knew that the pushing is very, very hard. And also I know, because I'm in these online communities, Llama is open source, bro. Stable Diffusion is open source, which means the world is just tinkering with the code. Right. And I don't mean the world like writ large, but it's available for anyone to come in and tinker with the code and find something better and then absorb that into the main kind of framework. And because it's open source and everyone has access to it, and it doesn't have to pay, there's no giant paywall. The ability to tinker is right there at their fingertips without a lot of computational cost nor financial cost. So really it's just a time thing. So yeah, I don't know. Like if you have a studio and it's costing you overhead, right? And if you have a studio, it's costing you overhead. Like just think about any content studio that needs to put a shoot together where it's not close-ups of hands. You need talent. You need talent to show up on the day. You need to negotiate content rights. Does the brand own it? Does the agency own it? Does the model give away their rights for their likeness? You need the props to be there. You need the props to be shipped out and in good order, so the packaging doesn't it doesn't come in a crumpled box with scratches everywhere. So it's not good enough for all that. Possibly gone at the next 2025, at the next drop, whatever that drop is.
There's already people trying to, AI static models has been around. We've been using it, but with video, the moment Sam Altman dropped that, this very next day, I actually saw a company where you can take, I don't know if it was using OpenAI's video generation, where you can take that AI video, highlight what part of the video you want it to change. So if you want it to change the shirt or put on
Yes.
glasses, and they would change it. Now, that's only so far removed from you just you just importing a vector or 3D render of your product, giving it to them, and then putting on anything you want. It's like it's not far away. Probably 6 months.
Absolutely. So, and this is why this actually fits really nicely into what we are talking about, or what we have on today's episode with understanding personas, their mass desires, being able to appeal to those, and then coming up with the creative or the offers of the angle. It dovetails so nicely in because, again, my tinfoil agency hat on. There's no such thing as a tinfoil agency. I mean, my agency hat on with a tinfoil hat on top of that. From GPT-4, I saw this coming, and I know that what this allows for the industry, all players in the industry. So not only service providers, but actual paying customers, whatever paying customer looks like, whether that is brands as paying customers of specialized agencies or consumers of tech, also, I guess, paying customers. It will put the tools in the hands of the customer, which in a way devalues the perceived value of the toolsman or woman,
or the knowledge work too, because they think now you don't need, all you need is just a tool.
Right. And by and large, if it is tool manipulation, they are absolutely fully justified to think that, right? If what's the difference between needing an Uber driver or a taxi driver and having your own vehicle? One, the ability to operate that vehicle, and two, the ability to afford that vehicle. Those are the two primary, and of course, get a driver's license, but 3 barriers to entry between needing and having to pay an Uber driver constantly versus drive whenever you want. But where to drive and how to navigate certain, how to navigate certain conditions, that part is still, by and large, what lives up here. Right, through experience, through know-how, and all that. As an example, most of I think they call them cabbies, maybe in the UK, taxi drivers. They know London and all the small roads like inside out from memory. It's kind of wild, but point being, I got that piece, which is why if the tool manipulation, the experimentation is going to get so cheap and so fast, right? Computational overhead, time overhead, even. To then be able to break down, I still struggle to see how, in our current state, we still have a few, maybe in my mind, several years to go before understanding the nuance of a brand's target market.
Oh, you mean how to communicate, the voice and tone, style,
what their fears are. Right, what their gains and their drains are,
but
to a human input, level,
right?
It could just be input.
If you understand that, you can input that. Like, for example, let's take, if you could hypothetically give it a massive catalog of photos and videos that perfectly match your style and your brand, and then give it all of the ways of how you communicate. Now, potentially, they could always make photos and videos in alignment with your style in your setting for this particular
persona. For sure. But to that extent, absolutely. Where I think that the concentration of value is going to migrate towards is the knowledge work, the human experience of being able to break down, to create the personas, observe human behavior, right? Not only quantitatively through a data set, but uniquely, that is uniquely yours. Sure, you can argue that you can upload your own data set, but consumer level tools aren't there yet for that. At that type of level, for an AI to be able to spit out everything down to a T of like, okay, these are their absolute mass desires, and this is how you iterate through them, right? There still needs that human component, that level of, so essentially knowledge work and the model that most agencies run off of is going to start to go into, we know how to drive the tools, but also understand, bring that human element, right, to navigate almost in real time, to respond to the responses that we're getting from the messaging that they're putting out, right? So this is how it kind of dovetails into that. If you fed, if say for example, Ray, you owned a brand, and I knew the types of questions to ask you about who you are selling to, right? We're not sponsored, but let's say maybe you're selling me one of these. If my camera ever, right? So you're selling me like an AG1, kind of like a little D3K2 liquid supplement. I go, so that's what I'm selling. I think it's like, I don't, and then maybe I'll go, wait, so are you selling that to athletes? No, it wouldn't be athletes because D3K2. Oh, all right, well, is it the regular? It can't be everyone. Like not everyone cares about this type of stuff. And being able to ask those questions, and then based off of your responses and based off of my prior experience and knowledge of the market, be able to understand where this thing might be able to be positioned within the market, who those potential buyers are, maybe quite quickly because of experience, likely where to start, the most impactful audience to start with. I probably wouldn't go with like hobbyist stay-at-home dads, right? And then from that point, be able to go, well, based off of that customer where we want to maximize wallet share, what do they want? What are their mass desires? Or what do they not want? Right? So I think that's where value is going to start to accrue, at that layer, not at the manipulation of tools.
The one thing that AI can't steal yet. Yeah.
Right. And in fact, this is where I start to get really excited for the near future. I get really excited for the near future because remember what happened to our recruitment, and so many of our pals, remember what happened to their recruitment as well when GPT became publicly available, and what happened to all of the so many assessment submissions from potential hiring candidates.
Oh yeah, people just GPT it. Yeah,
right. The people, like the market, will always do that. The same is going to happen to agencies, where they don't know how to drive. They just go, "Oh yeah, what do you mean? I'm more efficient, right? So I'm just going to pump it in and crank it in and move on to the next one." So where's the moat? The moat becomes, always has been my thesis, give a shit factor, the gas factor. I've always called it the gas factor, right? Like actually caring about the work. But then also number two, at the same time, the moat becomes actually caring about having the know-how and the care, then starts to become, it's not just a tool thing anymore. It really becomes how the thinking pattern of that individual. That's why we went so hard into lean as well. Imagine trying to this had always been my kind of mental test. Is AI, and sorry for everyone who doesn't know what A3 is, I'm just jamming with Ray at this point. A3 is a framework that we use to problem solve. It's in a very standard kind of way. It comes from Lean, Toyota. We use it a lot. Internal problems as well as client problems. Every problem we start worthy enough of that type of inspection, we go through that framework. Ray, with the current state of AI, do you think that we can just punch in a problem statement and a background into of an A3 into an AI tool and have it spit out like all this stuff? Or must humans still be involved? You see what I'm saying? Like that human element is still so valuable.
Definitely human.
Right. So same thing with if we have to A3 brands, like what the challenge statement actually is, what the current condition is. That's what gets me really excited. because all the fools that just punch it in and think that punching it into their web browser, into a certain tool, is going to solve all their problems, those are the ones that will absolutely race to the bottom. Because now it's just how fast I can type on my keyboard into that prompt versus how fast you can type into the keyboard with your prompt. The ones that understand the value of that human element and really lean in there, I am so excited about that. See, as an example, and I really need your take on this. Breakthrough advertising, they talk about personas and mass desires. For those that haven't been inducted into thinking the way we think when it comes to creative strategy, can you kind of break that thing down for us? Like how to get to, there's a lot of exercises, but can you give us the gist of the whole thing?
Yeah. So every brand, every product has different personas. So for example, pick a mouse, pick a phone. There's going to be different types of people that buy that product, right? That's called a persona. A mass desire, as defined by the book Breakthrough Advertising, is a public spread of a private want. So your job is to, through research, how do I identify what is a desire that a mass amount of people have that people want internally. It can be they've said it public. It can be that they've said it out loud. They said it in their mind, or you're unlocking a desire they have that they don't quite articulate yet. So that's the whole objective: is what is a desire that a large group of people have? Because according to Eugene Schwartz, an ad's job is you're not creating demand. You're just tapping into demand or desire that already exists inside people's hearts and minds and soul. And so that's really all you're doing with your ads. So your job is to, going back to your reference, to do the hard work that AI cannot do yet. And that is, how do I unlock a desire someone already has? And then my ad is just a channel of them fulfilling that desire.
Right. Absolutely. And so we do this all the time with our research, right? What do? We look at reviews of, say, for example, if it's if there's already a lot of existing data and the brand has been in market for a while, we look at their own reviews on their product page, for example, if they have a review widget, or we go to their different socials and go through comments. Now, there still isn't an AI tool because Instagram's data is a black box to OpenAI, as an example, right?
You can export some stuff,
Amazon's
but
data set
it's still
is
not great.
Complete, right? Like Amazon's API is not open and is not accessible to OpenAI, as another example. So there still needs to be some human to be able to do that, unless you can kind of tack together some tools, maybe a web scraper and some type of which converts it then into readable data and then speed it to the app. There are ways you can brute force it. And I mean, as I'm even talking about it, I'm excited about building some kind of tool for us internally for something like that. But point being, you still need that human element. How do I know that for a fact? Even within our own teams, when we first introduced the training, notice how some people just took to it like a duck to water, and some people still struggled, even with very specific kind of frameworks, right? Even exactly with very specific type of actions. So it's not exactly like once you have the know-how, it's all game over. Or once you've been given the A to B to C to D checklist type of know-how, the next level of know-how that unlocked, that's where value is going to accrue. And I think that's where value is going to accrue. It'd be a laggard, but it can happen just as quickly as what you're feeling about content studios, where it's going to accrue quite like really, really hard. Someone can argue that, hey, with this thing going on, every TV commercial production company is screwed. So, you know, how far do you go, right? Every movie studio, why would movie studios need to hire like any film crew anymore? We can go that far.
I think it's just going to drive the cost down. Like some things is going to drive the cost down. But like what you said, for example, like could AI, GPT, and now this text to video that they came out with, could they make a Christopher Nolan style movie? Sure, they could look at every script he's ever done and eventually read and watch every video. But at the end of the day, a human element is still going to have a massive advantage over a machine, at least for the foreseeable future, because there's a certain amount of imagination or unique skill set, like your ability to understand buying psychology, human psychology, and
Right.
understand breakthrough advertising principles. You can come up with a narrative or an ad that would actually outperform a machine because they're just looking at inputs, right? Like it can't yet understand nuances, understand emotion behind things.
Right. Even as automated, I mean, let's put it this way. Uh, uh, as technologically advanced as Amazon is, I mean, the founder of Amazon has like a flying penis that can go into space, right? Like, you know, as and as manual of work as pick and pack is, Amazon factories still have humans. Now,
Right.
I would imagine that without the technological innovation, they would have the need for more humans, which introduces more human complexity, but it still requires those humans. Now, if you look at, if I don't know, I've never been to an Amazon factory, or I don't know what the org chart looks like in terms of what roles they have. I would imagine that a lot of those roles would not be move box from point A to point B, right? And stack. So the lowest type of manual labor would be replaced. But I would imagine if box A that's meant to go to point B goes to point G at scale, you probably need a human to QA and do all that type of stuff. So where does the value of actually worthwhile human getting paid, where does that value accrue, even in work like that? That's how I'm computing back here at our agency kind of industry, if you will, but also for an in-house team for any type of brand to go, where does the value accrue so that then I spend value where I need to spend value, and where are efficiencies where then I can capitalize on that efficiency, right? Because like the manual work of knowledge work, I know I'm a moron. I don't know how to phrase it any other way, but you get what I mean, right? Like the manual work of like complete this checkbox or fill in this spreadsheet because the owner of the company or, you know, like a small business doesn't know how to use automation to get that spreadsheet just data fed through. Those types of jobs are going to be unnecessary for a human to fill, because a job is not employment. A job is a thing to get done, a task.
Yeah. So
right.
So I'd say anything like that, that's like button pushing, that
routine
eventually is
task
going to go
work,
away.
I guess.
But I would call it the engineer mind, or the person who understands how all the machine and all the pieces are fit together. That's not going to go away. Or the creative mind that understands the narrative and how do I position whatever I'm making. That's not going to go away, at least that I can see. But definitely, like anything that is involved, that's a platform or a tech or a person that accomplishes a task, I think there's eventuality that they're all at risk.
Yes. So hopefully you can, anyone at Right Hook, actually, who's watching this, and any of our pals where I keep throwing them the damn Lean book, hopefully they can see why I did that now. Because I do that because if all the non-problem solving work gets soaked up by by automation and by machines first, that means that value is going to accrue at the problem solving level. I can interpolate and take in a lot of variables and a lot of data and be able to compute it in my head, and then problem solve through it in a rapidly changing environment. Because maybe because the environment doesn't change, but now the problem solver more information is revealed to them. So they're like, oh, it's changed now because I know that this thing exists. Now I can approach differently. If you go ask a consumer grade AI tool, it'll go, I don't have that data. I'm sorry, but I'm not allowed to. I'm not able to give you that stuff because I don't have the data. You can give it the data, but by the time you're doing that, you're not actively problem solving. So the problem solving area, right, being able to
meet like
challenges
Dan
and all
Kennedy,
that, I really think that's where value is going to accrue.
Someone like a Dan Kennedy, who's a master copywriter, like someone like that would as an extreme example, would never be at risk. He's got, decades and decades of amazing copywriting capability for direct response. So while someone can write the words, he understands the experience, the know-how, and the psychology behind how to write amazing copy that converts. So I think that's just a really good example where become that version for your space, and you actually just increase your productivity. But now with some of the advances, it'll just, if anything, make your cost lower.
Right. The analogy or metaphor that always pops up in my head around this type of around what's happening now is, I want you to do me a favor. Think of two scenarios: one with you as a single man, and one with you as a married dad right now. First one is a single man, right? Because people were like, "No, man, I don't care what you say. AI is going to be able to replace all that stuff." Okay, as a single man, and you're trying to be charming and flirt with a woman you meet at the bar, straight man, a woman you meet at the bar who you really firmly in your heart believe is going to be your future wife. Do you think AI can get to a place in the very near foreseeable future where it can feed you the appropriate responses, real time, her facial expression, how she's responding, where is she leaning in or not? Does she look interested, disinterested? Is she laughing at your joke? What's the next line supposed to be? How do you banter back and forth? Real time like that. Now, what's the work version of that? You see what I'm saying? Like, to be able to go like that, what's our industry version of that? Where I can't see it just yet. I can't what is it, hardware? I'm on a phone while I'm talking to her? No. Okay, glasses and earpieces? Wait, but then if it's earpieces, I can't hear what she's saying. The technological state of where we are right now still isn't there. What's our work version of that? Right? If we're working for a brand and the boss tells us to go do this and work on that, and the way that they're telling it, still not there yet, right? The way if we're at a trade show, owning a brand, talking to customers, or we run a D2C dinner, still can't collate all that stuff. The humanness of that, not there yet.
Yet. Right? I mean, look at Tesla and self-driving, right? Have you ever seen what their data model sees when it's self-driving? Have you seen that before? What the computer sees?
Yeah.
So the computer we're vision, not there yet, but if they can do that and it's showing all these millions of data points and it's mapping out the road in the future, we're not there yet. But I think there's a real use case eventually where it won't replace a human, but can you get subtle cues if you're out on a date potentially, body temperature changing, flushness changing? Will it be able to read that? I mean, I don't know, man. I don't think it's impossible with what we have now.
No, absolutely. It's absolutely not impossible, because those are the types of biometric indicators that casinos use.
Yes.
Already. So it's already there. But for that act of charming a person, for that act of forging a relationship, for that act, I struggle to see how machine replaceable it is. Much in the same way, trying to, when the second scenario is when we mess up with our family or our wives and we have to apologize genuinely, authentically. I don't know if maybe some seed prompts, right? Maybe some seed prompts that might be able to point us in the right direction. But when you're in the thick of it,
some apology starters,
right. But how do you? What do you do if? What do you do if the response back from the AI is something like, "Okay, now is the time when you genuinely listen." You're not a machine. You don't just comply and genuinely listen if you don't know what that means. So there's that element where the appreciation for the existence of that, just like our appreciation for the humanness in job applications without the AI crap, the way that they fed us that is going to be more valued in this world that's coming. That's my thesis, at least. So as much as it is a tool, applying a tool the wrong way still ends up with undesired results. So that's why I'm excited about where we are right now for the individuals that know how to manipulate these tools without taking a hammer to a screw or a screwdriver to a nail. You're just going to get really holy walls and not a lot of work done. It's a fascinating future, man.
It is. On that, I have to hop off to another call. Sorry about that.
Go. You're gonna go close. You're gonna close a deal.
Yeah, I have to go close the deal. So I'm sure you understand.
Oh, nice. Everyone, hopefully you got to put your tinfoil hat on with us today. Ray's about to go close a deal. This is how like real time these podcasts are. Thanks for jamming, Ray. That was super fun.
Yeah, it's good, man.
See you next time, everyone. Adios.